26. So Maitreya, he appreciated, he glorified Vidura. He says that you are not an ordinary person. You are Dharmaraj himself, Yamaraj himself, but he got cursed. So in this way, you are eternal associate of Lord. And now about the whole creation has been spoken. That how Lord is a seer, how what external energy has been spoken, how the energy becomes both the cause and the effect in the cosmic manifestation. Now 26th verse. कालवृत्तया तु मायायां गुणमय्यामदोक्षजः पुरुषेणात्मभूतेन वीर्यमादत्तवीर्यवान्. The eternal time, Vrittaya, by the influence of eternal time, two, but Mayayam, in the external energy, Gunamayam, in the qualitative modes of nature, Adhokshaja, the transcendence, Purushena, by the Purusha incarnation, Atma Bhutena, who is plenary expansion of the Lord, Viryam, the seeds of the living entities, Adhatta, impregnated, Viryavan, the supreme living being. The supreme living being in his feature as a transcendental Purusha incarnation, who is the Lord's plenary expansion, impregnates the material nature of three modes, and thus, by the influence of eternal time, the living entities appear. So, Lord impregnates, here it is given, the Purusha incarnation, that means Karanadakshai Vishnu. Lord on his own does not do anything. When he has to do something, when he has to create, he immediately expands into Purusha avatars. So in the Purusha incarnation, he impregnates. Okay, Aruna, read.
Hare Krishna, text 26. Kala vritya tu mayayam gunamayya madokshajah purushenatma bhutena viryamadhatta viryavan. Translation: the Supreme Being, in his feature as transcendental Purusha incarnation, who is the Lord's plenary expansion, impregnates the material nature of three modes, and thus, by the influence of eternal time, the living entities appear. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The offspring of any living being is born after the father impregnates the mother with semen, and the living entity floating in the semen of the father takes the shape of the mother's form. Similarly, mother material nature cannot produce any living entity from her material elements unless and until she is impregnated with the living entities by the Lord Himself. That is the mystery of the generation of the living entities. This impregnating process is performed by the first Purusha incarnation, Karana Vashai Vishnu. Simply by his glance over material nature, the whole matter is accomplished. We should not understand the process of impregnation by the personality of Godhead in terms of our conception of sex. The omnipotent Lord can impregnate just by his eyes, and therefore he is called all potent. Each and every part of his transcendental body can perform each and every function of the other parts. This is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita 5.32. Angani yasya sakalendriya vrittimanti. In Bhagavad Gita 14.3 also, the same principle is confirmed. Mama yonir mahad brahma tasmin garbham dadami aham. When the cosmic creation is manifested, the living entities are directly supplied from the Lord. They are never products of material nature. Thus, no scientific advancement of material science can ever produce a living being. What is the whole mystery of the material creation? The living entities are foreign to matter, and thus they cannot be happy unless they are situated in the same spiritual life as the Lord. The mistaken living being, out of forgetfulness of his original condition of life, unnecessarily wastes time trying to become happy in the material world. The whole Vedic process is to remind one of this essential feature of life. The Lord offers a conditioned soul, a material body, for his so called enjoyment. But if one does not come to his senses and enter into spiritual consciousness, the Lord again puts him in the unmanifested condition as it existed in the beginning of the creation. The Lord is described here as Viryavan, or the greatest potent being, because he impregnates material nature with innumerable living entities who are conditioned from time immemorial. Hare Krishna.
Mm. Next, 27th verse. It's taking. It's that. Wow. I have to hold a little because my and holder is shaking. That is why I'm just catching hold of it. Yeah, it's okay. 27. ततो भवन्महत्तत्त्वम् अव्यक्तात् कालचोदितात् विज्ञानात्मात्मदेहस्थं विश्वं व्यञ्जं तमोनुदः ततः thereafter abhavat came into existence Mahat Tattvam, supreme sum total, Avyakta, from the unmanifested, Kala Chodita, by the interaction of time, Vijnana Atma, unalloyed goodness, Atma Dehastham, situated on the bodily self, Vishwam, complete universes, Vyanjan, manifested, Tamanuda, the supreme love, the supreme light, thereafter influenced by the interaction of eternal time. The supreme sum total of matter, that is Mahatattva, became manifested. And in this Mahatattva, the unalloyed goodness, the Supreme Lord, sowed the seeds of universal manifestation out of his own body. So Jiva Tattva, Kala Tattva, may, both are entered by his glance, both enter by his glance in this Mahatattva. So what is said, see, because of the eternal time, even Mahat Tattva became manifested. That means it is in the unmanifested form also and manifested form also. When it has to manifest, yes, all the goodness, everything, all three modes of material nature, everything is manifested. When it has to remain unmanifested form, it's again up to will of Lord. It will remain in unmanifested form. Okay. Raksha, read.
Hare Krishna. Shloka 27. ततो भवन्महत्तत्त्वम् अव्यक्तात् अव्यक्ताकालचोदितात् विज्ञाम् आत्ममुदेहस्थं विश्वं व्यञ्जस्तमोनुदः. Translation. Thereafter, influenced by the interaction of eternal time, the supreme sum total of matter called the Mahat Tattva become manifested. And in this Mahat Tattva, the unalloyed goodness, the Supreme Lord, sowed the seed of universal manifestation out of his own body. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai ho. In due course of time, the impregnated material energy was manifested first as the total material ingredients. Everything takes its own time to fructify, and therefore the word Kala, Kala Chodita, influenced by time, is used herein. The Mahatattva is the total consciousness because a portion of it is represented in everyone as the intellect. The Mahat Tattva is directly connected with the supreme consciousness of the supreme being, but still it appears as matter. The Mahat Tattva or shadow of pure consciousness is the germinating place of all creation. It is pure goodness with a slight addiction of material mode of passion, and therefore activity is generated from this point. Hare Krishna.
स्वपुरुषः गुणकालात्मा भगवद्दृष्टिगोचरः आत्मानं प्रकरोदात्मा विश्वस्यास्य से सूक्षया सोऽपि महत्तत्व सः means mentioning about mahatattva api also amsha purushaha plenary expansion guna chiefly the quality of ignorance kala the duration of time atma full consciousness bhagavat the personality of god drishti gocharaha the range of sight atmanam many different forms vekarot differentiated atma reservoir vishwasya the would be entities asya of this sisrukshaya generates a policy. So thereafter the Mahat Tattva differentiated itself into many different forms as the reservoir of the would-be entities. The Mahat Tattva is chiefly in the mode of ignorance and it generates the false ego. It's a plenary expansion of the personality of Godhead with full consciousness of creative principles and time for purification. So reservoir of many living entities means many different varieties of living entities. Bodies are made. Many varieties of bodies are made where living entities, according to their karmas, can get inside. And they can take the shelter. So Mahatattva is chiefly in the mode of ignorance. So in ignorance only all this creation is happening. And what it is generating? False ego, false identification. Now see, Mahatattva is also primary expansion of Lord and conscious of what it is doing. But it is in the mode of ignorance. Because everything is actually in the hands of Krishna. Because in ignorance only, a person can have a false ego. But Mattva is expanding, differentiating into many bodies. Now, when a person is identifying with its body, that means their ignorance is centered. So ignorance is also under the Lord's care only. Okay. Now, Bindu read.
Hare Krishna Mastaji. Text 28. Sopya amsha guna kalatma bhagavad gocharaha atmanam vyakarodatma vishwasyasya shirikshaya. Translation. Thereafter, the Mahat Tattva differentiated itself into many different forms as the reservoir of the would-be entities. The Mahat Tattva is chiefly in the mode of ignorance, and it generates the false ego. It is the plenary expansion of the personality of Godhead with full consciousness of creative principles and time for fructification. Purport. The Mahatattva is the via medium between pure spirit and material existence. It is the junction of matter and spirit wherefrom the false ego of the living entity is generated. All living entities are differentiated parts and parcels of the personality of Godhead. Under the pressure of false ego, the conditioned souls, although the parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, claim to be the enjoyers of material nature. This false ego is the binding force of material existence. The Lord again and again gives a chance to the bewildered conditioned souls to get free from this false ego. And that is why the material creation takes place at intervals. He gives the conditioned souls all facilities for rectifying the activities of the false ego, but he does not interfere with their small independence as parts and parcels of the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Lord is not interfering, at the same time, Lord is giving facilities for rectifying the activities of the false. Giving facility. Somebody wants to take advantage of the facility. Hearing chanting is a facility. Lord appears as Bhagavatam, that is a facility. So conditional souls are getting the facility to rectify their activities of false ego. Because in this life we have got intelligence to discriminate what is good, what is bad. So we have got that. Somebody wants to take advantage, fine. Not doesn't want it. Mahatatvad vikurvana aham tattvam vyajayat karya karana kartratma bhutendriya manomaya vaikarikas tejasaschya tamasascheti aham tridham. Mahat, the great tattva from the causal truth. Vikurvana, being transformed, aham, false ego, tattva, material truth, vijayata, became manifested, karya, effects, karma, cause, kartru, doer, atma, soul of source, bhuta, material ingredients, indriya, senses, manamayam, hovering on the mental plane, vaikarikaha, the mode of goodness, Tejasaham, the mode of passion, and Tamasaham, the mode of ignorance, and ititas. Aham, false ego, Vidha, three kinds. So Mahatattva, or the great causal truth, transforms into false ego, which is manifested in three phases: cause, effect, doer. Now let's see. Mahatattva is manifesting, transforming into false ego, and three phases it affects. The cause is ignorance, effect is also ignorance, then the doer is also ignorant. So cause, effect, doer. All such activities are on the mental plane and are based on the material elements, gross senses, and mental speculation. So all these are hovering on the mental plane. Rava bhaktasya kuto mahaguna manoratena asati dhavato bali. All mana, all happens in the stage of mind, mental plane. The false ego is represented in different modes also. Goodness, passion, ignorance. That means false ego can come for a goodness person also. Identification can come in the wrong way with a good person also. It may be a very good person. Harava bhakta saputo mahatpura. He may be having many good qualities, but he is not a devotee. False ego comes when there is a wrong understanding about ourselves. When true understanding is there, yes, I'm always servant of Krishna, then one surpasses this Mahatattva. Mahatattva is the facility which is given for living entity. So Mahatattva comes out in different forms. Mahatattva basically is the expansion of Lord only. The facility is provided. This means the external energy. There is expansion of Lord. So Mahatattva is providing us a facility. And if this facility is not understood properly, this facility is basically in the mode of ignorance. Because false ego has been given. False ego means ignorance. So it can come, this ignorance can come to even a person in the mode of goodness. When you say ignorance, that ignorance specifies not understanding. One is mode of ignorance, one is said to be mode of goodness, mode of passion. The false ego can come to anyone. Agyanta can come to anybody.
Hare Krishna. महत्तत्वाद् विकुर्वणात् अहं तत्त्वं व्यजायत कार्यकारणकर्तात्मा भूतेन्द्रियो मनोमयः वैकारिकस्तैजश्च तामसश्चेति अहं त्रिधा. Translation: Mahatattva, or the great causal truth, transforms into false ego, which is manifested in three phases: cause, effect, and the doer. All such activities are on the mental plane and are based on the material elements, gross senses, and mental speculation. The false ego is represented in three different modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. Purport: A pure living entity in his original spiritual existence is fully conscious of his constitutional position as an eternal servitor of the Lord. All souls who are situated in such pure consciousness are liberated, and therefore they eternally live in bliss and knowledge in the various Vaikuntha planets in the spiritual sky. When the material creation is manifested, it is not meant for them. The eternally liberated souls are called Nitya Muktas, and they have nothing to do with the material creation. The material creation is meant for rebellious souls who are not prepared to accept subordination under the Supreme Lord. This spirit of false lordship is called false ego. It is manifested in three modes of material nature, and it exists in mental speculation only. Those who are in the mode of goodness think that each and every person is God, and thus they laugh at the pure devotees who try to engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Those who are puffed up by the mode of passion try to lord it over material nature in various ways. Some of them engage in altruistic activities as if they were agents appointed to do good to others by their mental speculative plans. Such men accept the standard ways of mundane altruism, but their plans are made on the basis of false ego. This false ego extends to the limit of becoming one with the Lord. The last class of egoistic conditioned souls, those in the mode of ignorance, are misguided by identification of the gross body with the self. Thus, all their activities are centered around the body only. All these persons are given the chance to play with false egoistic ideas. But at the same time, the Lord is kind enough to give them a chance to take help from scriptures like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam so that they may understand the signs of Krishna and thus make their lives successful. The entire material creation, therefore, is meant for the falsely egoistic living entities hovering on the mental plane under different illusions in the modes of material nature. Hare Krishna. Master.
So another modes are material. All these persons are given the chance to play with false egoistic ideas. Lord is giving chance, Lord is giving facilities. Lord is kind also to give them a chance to take help from scriptures. So Bhagavad Gita Bhagavatam, there's a help given by Krishna. Take help and make life successful. Okay. Aham tatvat vikurvana मनोवैकारिण वैकारिकादकारभूत वैकारिकाश्च ये देवाः अर्थाभिर्व्यञ्जनं यतः अहं तत्त्वा from the principles of all seeking. Vikurvana by transformation. Manaha the mind. Vaikarika by interaction with the mode of goodness. Abhoot generated. Vaikarikaha by interaction with goodness, cha also, ye all these, deva, demigods, artha, the phenomenon, abhivenjanam, physical knowledge, yatha, the source. The false ego is transformed into mind by interaction with the mode of goodness. All the demigods who control the phenomenal world are also products of the same principle, namely the interaction of false good, false ego, and mode of goodness. Yeah. So mind is interacting with the mode of goodness. False ego is transformed into mind by interaction with the mode of goodness. And demigods, what they do, they control the phenomenal world. They are also products of the same principle. Interaction of false ego and mode of goodness. So false ego interacting with different modes of material nature is the source of all materials in the phenomenal world. How this mind happens, how these demigods come, all this interaction, how false ego, that is Mahatattva, false ego, interacts sometimes with mode of goodness, sometimes with passion, sometimes with ignorance. So when it interacts with goodness, what comes? Mind comes. Demigods appear. When it interacts with passion, in the second line is given, and 31st verse is given, senses come. Senses, speculative knowledge, creative activities, They are all the products when it interacts with mode of passion. Now see, false ego. Mahat is false ego. And Mahat Tattva has a combination with the modes. How the modes appear. Now when you say Mahat Tattva, it has all these 23 elements. All 23 elements. And Pradhan is the three modes of material nature. There is a 24th element which has been given to us. Now, when it is interacting with the mode of goodness, that means what? The atmosphere also has the modes. When it interacts with that mode, this is created, mind is created. When senses are created. And then what is happening? Just see, Chamaso Bhuta Sukshmendriya. If it is interacting with the that is not given. The sky is a product of sound. Where I have gone. Yeah, that is it. The sky is a product of sound. Sound is a transformation of egoistic passion. In other words, sky is a symbolic representation of the Lord. How different things have appeared. Because our body is made up of 5 gross elements. In that, ether also comes, that is sky. So let us see the second verse first. Tejasanindriyanyeva jnana karma mayani cha. One line only. Tejasani, the mode of passion. Indriyani, the senses. Eva, certainly. Jnana, knowledge. Philosophical speculation. Karma, fruitive activities. Mayani, predominating. Also. The senses are certainly products of the passion in falsehood. So products of, it means interaction of false ego with passion. Therefore, the philosophical speculative knowledge, fruitive activities, they are predominantly modes of the mode of passion. So these are all the products. Next is Tamaso Bhuta Sukshmadi Yatahakam Lingamatmanama Atmanaha. Tamasa means from the mode of passion they have given. But tamas means what? Mode of ignorance. No? Tamasa means mode of ignorance. Why passion has been given? When the same passion intensifies, it is tamasa. Bhuta Sukshmendri Adihi. Subtle sense objects come. Senses have come, now sense objects. Mind has come, senses have come, sense objects. Now just see, the sense objects is actually nothing but mode of ignorance. How the transformation of the mode of ignorance. How sense objects are impacting in our consciousness. It is external. Matras Sparshastu Konte, Shitoshna Subudakada, Krishna says, it is Tanmatras, it is external. Now what is external is impacting our consciousness. That is why it is a product of ignorance. Bhuta Sukshma Adi, subtle sense objects are also there. Yatha, from which come lingam, symbolic representation, Atmana, the super soul. That means subtle sense objects. The subtle sense objects take a form, linga rupa. Lingam means symbolic representation. Like here, what is given is, it is kham. What is it kham? It is a sky. And that sky is a symbolic representation. Now, subtle sense objects are what? There is an eye within the mind. There is a nose within the mind. You can smell everything within the mind. But then when it has to come to the form, when it has to take the form, immediately it takes the form. And what are the forms it is taking? It takes first 5 gross elements. That is the form. 5 knowledge gaining senses. All these are the forms which has been taken. So what has been expressed here is these subtle sense objects. They, like sight is there. Okay, sight is there. But there is a sight within the mind also. You may look at the fan and you may think of something else, which is going to put an effect in our consciousness. You may look at a person, you may not be looking at that person. That means there is a sense object within the mind. So that also, like, there is a sound which is heard within the mind. Oh, he spoke like this to me. So you are not affected by the yourself because you are standing near a railway station. There is a train which is coming, too big loud sound. But then what happened? There is a sound which is heard within, and that is spoken. And that is ignorance. That means our mind now is functioning on what level now? Bhuta Sukshma Indriya. That means it is captivated by this sense objects. Mind is thinking about all these things. In the Vedic hymns, it is said, Etasmad Atmanaha Akashaha Sambhuta. So the sky is only a gross representation of the Supreme Lord, symbolic. Those who are egoistic in passion and ignorance cannot conceive the Lord. For them, the sky is a symbolic representation of this person. Now, about the sky is given. What is the sky? Sky is nothing but the transformation of the false ego coming in contact with ignorance. When the false ego comes in contact with the goodness, mind is represented. The same false ego that is Mahatattva comes in contact with the passion, senses are created. How sense objects got created? Because the tamas is contacted by the false ego. In that, sense objects, both the sukshmendra, the subtle sense objects has been spoken. And more symbolic representation is the sky. Just see the sky and think that, oh, the sky is actually the representation of Krishna. That is ignorance, actually. It's only a symbolic representation. Okay? All the three, Vrindavan Lila Mataji, read all the three verses also.
Yes. Actually, I was thinking of asking you, Mataji, but first I'll read.
Finish it, then we'll discuss.
Yes, ma'am. अहं तत्त्वाद् विकुर्वाणा मनोवैकारिका च भूत् वैकारिकाश्च ये देवा अर्थाभिव्यञ्जनं यतः. The false ego is transformed into mind by interaction with the mode of goodness. All the demigods who control the phenomenal world are also products of the same principle, namely the interaction of false ego and the mode of goodness. Purport: false ego interacting with the different modes of material nature is the source of all materials in the phenomenal world. Text 31. Tejasinendriyani eva jnana karma mayani cha. The senses are certainly products of the mode of passion and false ego, and therefore philosophical speculative knowledge and fruitive activities are predominantly products of the mode of passion. The chief function of the false ego is godlessness. When a person forgets his constitutional position as an eternally subordinate part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and wants to be happy independently, he functions mainly in two ways. He first attempts to act fruitively for personal gain or sense gratification. And after attempting such fruitive activities for a considerable time, when he is frustrated, he becomes a philosophical speculator and thinks himself to be on the same level as God. This false idea of becoming one with the Lord is the last snare of the illusory energy, which traps a living entity into the bondage of forgetfulness under the spell of false ego. The best means of liberation from the clutches of false ego is to give up the habit of philosophical speculation regarding the absolute truth. One should know definitely that the absolute truth is never realized by the philosophical speculation of the imperfect egoistic person. The absolute truth or the supreme personality of Godhead is realized by hearing about him in all submission and love from a bona fide authority who is a representative of the 12 great authorities mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. By such an attempt only can one conquer the illusory energy of the Lord. Although for others she is unsurpassable, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 7.14. Text 32. Tamaso bhuta sukshamad yatah kham lingam atmanaha. The sky is a product of sound, and sound is the transformation of egoistic ignorance. In other words, the sky is the symbolic representation of the Supreme Soul. Purport: in the Vedic hymns, it is said, Etasmat Atmanah Akasha Sambhutah. The sky is the symbolic representation of the Supreme Soul. Those who are egoistic in passion and ignorance cannot conceive of the personality of Godhead. For them, the sky is the symbolic representation of the Supreme Soul. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Now see here, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary to understand more simple in this. See what is given in the 30th verse, 30, 31, 32. We have done up to 32, right? 31, 32. So I'll read out. From the transformation of Ahankara in Sattva arose the mind. The sense devatas also arose from Ahankara in Sattva. And from the devatas of the senses, sense objects became revealed. Now is it easy to understand? From Ahankara in Sattva, mind came. In the same way, devatas came. And what devatas are doing? Devatas are taking care of our senses. And from the senses, what came? Sense objects came. Okay? Now, from Ahankara in Rajas, what came? Knowledge and action senses. That means working senses. That came. Senses, working senses, your eyes, ears, nose, senses. Knowledge giving senses also came. Oh, okay. Some may object that knowledge senses give knowledge. So they are in Sattva, not Rajas. To counter this, the word Eva is used. That means all senses arise from Ahankara in Rajas. Whether it is knowledge giving senses or working senses. From Rajas. Rajas means action. Understand it nicely. Rajas means action. Sato means intelligence, buddhi. That is why mind comes. Where you think, where you can analyze. Then for working, naturally you should have senses. Now, from Ahankara in Tamas, what came? Sense objects came. And it started from which? It started from sky. And that sky is also known as ether. Ether. From where the sound pervaded by the Lord started. Starting with sound pervaded by the Lord, from which ether arose. So, why it is said external objects are combination of Ahankara with Tamas? Because they are putting effect on our consciousness. They put effect on our consciousness. It's not so easy to control sense objects. Matras, Parshas to control. Sometimes we see horrible things, sometimes we hear horrible things. Still, the mind should be focused in Krishna. It's not so easy. It's not so easy. So this sound, especially now, see, because of the sound, after sound, the touch comes. Everything will come after that. First, the sky has come. From the sky, ether has come. And the ether, what comes? Sound comes. If you see even Brahmaji, for him also first sound was made to be heard. Then only form is seen. Touch means what? Form is seen, transforming itself into touch, yes. Touch is there. Form is later. Touch, sparsha. That means air has come. From the sky, that is ether, sound is there. From the sound, touch is there. And touch is what? Air, na? You have not. Earth, water, fire, air, ether. You go from behind. From ether, air. From air, fire. From fire, water. Water, say, that means
The
from sound,
Sparsha Rupa.
touch, sparsha. From the sparsha, it is drishti. Drishti. To touch, na, sound came. So just imagine there is no light. And you are hearing the sound. You hear the sound, you're going and touch. Oh, then afterwards you try to analyze. It's a form. Understanding? What?
Mataji, isn't it similar to what we had studied in second canto, sixth chapter, I think?
But here more explanation is there. How it came? Even now also, you see, close the light. You're not able to see anything. You have
Wow.
heard something. You went to search, hearing the sound, touched it. Touch. Touch has a lot of effect in our consciousness. When you try to analyze what it is, also soft, what it is. It can be snake, it can be anything. So then you it is form. Fire is what? Form, na? Drishti, form. Then still you're not able to analyze what it is. Then you try to smell it. It is a nature, you see. Anything you don't know, na, you try to first smell. No, earth, water, na, try to taste. There is taste. And then smell it. All these are interlinked with each other. From behind you go, that is how the creation happened. Now, how the creation happened, that is spoken. What was there? Mahatattva was there. What Lord infused in it as Kanadakshay Vishnu? Time factor. Because of the time factor, manifestation happened. So when its manifestation is there, what are the manifestation? Different forms which has been taken. And these forms are facilitating the living entities to reside. Understood? Till the time we have understood. And now, how different senses, how this form also came. It is a combination of the Mahatattva with the Sato. Mind comes. Sometimes say, इसके पास तो मन ही नहीं, बुद्धि नहीं, मन नहीं. When you say mind, intelligence is not very far. It refers to also intelligence. Discriminating factor, thinking factor, willing factor. That is why the animals, they don't have much. That is why they are technically known as, the animals are known as the passion. Men have it. That is why Sato. Trees, no question of it. So many things are interlinked, you see. Many things are interlinked. How the sense came, how the sense objects came. Many things are. Okay. You have to ask something. You can ask now, because 33 onwards, the whole, how the glancing, then the sparsha, everything has been spoken. After sparsha, there is sight. After sight, there is taste. And then there is smell. So this will do later. What question you have? That is it. Where is Nandama? Question. Okay, then we'll do the 33rd ones. Kalamayam shayogena bhagavad vikshitam navaham navaso no srutam sparsham vikurvan nirmame nilam. Kala, time, maya, external energy. Shayogena, partly mixed. Bhagavad, the personality of Godhead. Vikshitam, glanced over. Nabha, the sky. Navashaha, from the sky. Navaha, Navashaha. Anushritam, being so contacted. Sparsham, touch. Vikurvat, being transformed. Nirmame, was created. Anilam, the air. Now see, from the sky, what came? Air came. What is the meaning of air? Touch. Okay. It is going from behind now. We are going from behind. Like simple example, like you try to analyze from where the sound came, then you got touched. You touch it. Tries to analyze it. You can understand in different ways also. You heard something. You heard something. Even morning I'm hearing all nonsense. So then I try to touch the subject. Isn't it? Touch means not practically only touch. You're touching the subject by hearing. So lot of things matter what we are hearing. Then we touch it. Then we try to see it. Then we try to इसमें कुछ तो गड़बड़ है. Smell it. Smell comes नहीं. What comes? Taste it. Anubhav. Because of all these things, Anubhava comes. You're tasting it, Anubhava, that is tasting. And then afterwards, you smell it. Yes, there is something wrong. You see, everything has this, you can analyze this with everything. You understand? You hear something nonsense, right? Then what you're doing? You are, what is that? You're touching the subject. You're touching it, touching the topic. You should not touch it, but you're touching it. Sometimes it is required what to do. And then you try to see it, drishti, what it is actually. You're trying to analyze it. And then you try to now taste it. Oh, this is a better taste. What am I doing? And then what are you doing then? After tasting it, as you smell something, yes, there's a lot of mischievous things. Understanding? So all
Mataji, it is done by internal senses. It is all done by internal senses. Whatever we are
the
experiencing, matlab,
eternal senses has nothing to do with all these things. Senses and the sense objects is because of the product of the combination of false ego with sato or rajas or tamas. Senses has come with rajas. Action, na? Mind is a product of combination of false ego with what? Sato. And sense objects, which is putting lot of effect on our consciousness. Now we are talking about that. We're talking about the sense objects. We are not talking about the gross elements. How these sense objects, like we have the for the earth, it is smell, and all these things, how much it is having an effect on us. How these all came? These all came with the with the rise of senses, gross elements. Gross elements. From the gross elements, senses came, sense objects came. Okay. So here about the air is this spoken. Next is Anilopi Vikurvanu Navasorubalanumitah Sasarja Rupatanmatram Sitanmatras. We're talking about Tanmatras only. Jyotirlokasya Lochanam. Now Lochanam, then what has come now? Sight has come. For sight, eyes. For eyes, it is fire. Understanding? So in this way, thereafter, the extremely powerful air interacting with the sky generated the form of sense perception. And the perception of form transformed into electricity, that is fire, the light, to see the world. As just now I was explaining, and now the mother is, I think, mobile or disconnected. Any topic you take it, any topic. First there is sound, you hear it. When you hear, then what you do? You try to touch the topic. Anything, this is correlated. You're touching the topic. The moment you touch the topic, you want to look at it also. You want to look at it. That is how electricity came. Once you look at it, then you try to taste it. When you taste it, then you smell it. इसमें कुछ तो गड़बड़ है. It's like, it's so wonderful. Smelling need not be always found. It can be good fragrance also. So this is how Anilenanvitam Jyote Vikrut Vikurvat Paravikshitam Adattamnorasamayam Alamayam Shayugatah. Now, when electricity is surcharged with the air, Anilena means by air, Anvitam interacted Jyoti. Electricity is there now. Vikurvat being transformed, Paravikshitam being glanced over by the Supreme, Adattah created Ambharasa Mayam. Now water to taste. Water with taste has been given. Kala of the eternal times. Maya Amshaha, the external energy, Yogataha, mixture. So when the electricity was surcharged in the air, Okay? And was glanced over by the Lord at that time by a mixture of eternal time and external energy. There occurred the creation of water and taste. So water and taste is the combination of what? There is fire and the glancing of Lord at that fire. Now fire with air, both combination. Now sky and air combination, electricity. Air and electricity combination is water. Lot of air flows. जोर से lightning comes. What happens? Air light combination. What happens? Rain comes. Comes or not? Simple ways to understand things. They are very difficult. You do not go in the head of. And then what do you do? When water comes, you taste it. Then you identify, oh, this is water. What comes from the sky? Got it? So sky is there, air is there, light comes, water comes, taste comes. Taste is there, that is why you want tongue. Now, okay, very wonderful. Now, water produced from electricity was glanced over by Lord, mixed with the eternal time and external energy. It transformed into earth. That is why when the water flows down, oh, transformed into earth. And you have wonderful smell. Rainy season, na? ज्योतिषाम्भोनु सन्तुष्ट विकुर्वद ब्रह्म वीक्षितं महिं गन्धगुणान् आधान् कालमायां शलोकतः. So water produced from the electricity was glanced over. Now everything, whatever is produced, that Lord is glancing. Because Mat Tattva, na? Mat Tattva means the basic elements are formed. Earth, water, fire, air, ether. There is a basic elements. Now when Lord is glancing over these things and then infusing everything with time and external energy, then what happens? Then another product comes. Lord is glancing, another product. What is the another product? That is earth. Okay. And this is qualified primarily by sleep. So here we'll stop. Just read all the verses, Aruna. Now what we did 33, 34, 35, 36. And we'll take
Hare
the
Krishna.
later.
Text
Next.
33.
Read and analyze Lord. This is all we have done. Now, again, because Vidura wants to hear my Krishna speaking. Here.
Text 33. Kala Mayan Yogena Bhagavad-Vikshitam Nabha Navo Nusrutam Sparsham Vikurvan Nirmame Nilam. Translation. Thereafter, the personality of Godhead glanced over the sky, partly mixed with eternal time and external energy, and thus developed the touch sensation from which the air in the sky was produced. Purport: all material creations take place from the subtle to gross. The entire universe is developed in that manner. From the sky developed the touch sensation, which is a mixture of eternal time, the external energy, and the glance of the personality of Godhead. The touch sensation developed into the air in the sky. Similarly, all other gross matter also developed from subtle to gross. Sound developed into sky, touch developed into air, form developed into fire, taste developed into water, and smell developed into the earth. Text 34. Anilopi vikurvano navoro balanvitah sasarjam rupatan matram jyotirlokasya lochanam. Thereafter, the extremely powerful air interacting with the sky generated from the sense generated the form of sense perception, and the perception of form transformed into electricity, the light to see the world. Text 35. Anilonanvitam jyotir vikurvat paravikshitam adattamborasamayam kalamayamshayogatah. Translation: when electricity was surcharged in the air and was glanced over by the Supreme, at that time, by a mixture of eternal time and external energy, there occurred the creation of water and taste. Text 36. Jyotishambo nu samsrishtam vikurvadra ह्यवीक्षितं महीं गन्धगुणामाधात् कालमायांशयोगतः. Translation: thereafter the water produced from electricity was glanced over by the Supreme Personality of Godhead and mixed with the eternal time and external energy. Thus it was transformed into earth, which is qualified primarily by smell. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. From the description of the physical elements in the above verses, it is clear that in all stages, the glance of the Supreme is needed with the other additions and alterations. In every transformation, the last finishing touch is the glance of the Lord, who acts as a painter does when he mixes different colors to transform them into a particular color. When one element mixes with another, the number of its qualities increases. For example, the sky is the cause of air. The sky has only one quality, namely sound. But by the interaction of the sky with the glance of the Lord, mixed with eternal time and external nature, the air is produced, which has two qualities, sound and touch. Similarly, after the air is created, interaction of the sky and air, touched by time and the external energy of the Lord, produces electricity. And after the interaction of the electricity with air and sky, mixed with time, external energy and the Lord's glance over them, the water is produced. In the final stage of the sky, there is one quality, namely sound. In the air, two qualities, sound and touch. In the electricity, three qualities, namely sound, touch, and form. In the water, four qualities, sound, touch, form, and taste. And the last stage of physical development, the result is earth, which has all five qualities, sound, touch, form, taste, and smell. Although they are different mixtures of different materials, such mixtures do not take place automatically, just as the mixture of colors does not take place automatically without the touch of the living painter. The automatic system is factually activated by the glancing touch of the Lord. Living consciousness in the final world in all physical changes. The fact is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita 9.10 as follows. Maya Dyakshena Prakriti Suyate Sacharacharam Hetu Nanena Kaunteya Jagadvit Parivartate. The conclusion is that the physical elements may work very wonderfully to the layman's eyes, but their working actually take place under the supervision of the Lord. Those who can mark only the changes in the physical elements and cannot perceive the hidden hands of the Lord behind them are certainly less intelligent persons, although they may be advertised as great material scientists. Hare Krishna.
So how wonderfully Srila Prabhupada says, in a sky, what is that sound is there? And then the same thing goes ahead also. In the air, what is there? In air, what is there? Sound is also there, touch is also there. Like that, all the qualities are there till you go till the earth. In earth, all fire. Difficult to understand, but very easy if we try to analyze it in our day-to-day life. Like the sky is there. In the sky, when the air flows, electricity is there, water comes, earth is there. In the earth, we can understand everything. Smell is there, sound is there, all in the sukshma way. In earth, everything is there. Okay. So from the sky, we went up to the earth, from down to up. And when Lord is glancing, immediately there is a product created. That product is the gross elements. Okay. So first sense objects. The Lord is glancing at the sense objects like that, it goes on. It's going on like that. Sense objects. Lord is glancing at the sound. Then this is created. Lord is glancing here, this is created. So we are speaking about the sense objects. Because Mahat Tattva is dealing with the sense objects. Mahat Tattva is ignorant, which is dealing with the sense objects. And that is how the gross elements are produced. Okay? Difficult. But go through it and then ask a question. Tuesday we'll go through it again.
Mataji, but I have a small question.
Yeah.
Mataji, if I remember rightly, in the second canto, 6th chapter, when we were reading this section, there it was mentioned that Mahatattva is primarily in Sattva. And here we say it is in ignorance.
Mahatattva deals with Sattva. Mahatattva on its own, why it is ignorant? Because it's a dull matter. It's a dull matter. What is Mahatattva? Darkest portion in the whole of the eternal sky. Sometimes manifested, sometimes unmanifested. Something which is dull is actually ignorant. Na? How it can be Sattva? See, you're getting confused. Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, that is the qualities. But when you say it is a dull matter, it is ignorant. It doesn't know anything. But it has to deal with the three modes. And that is how when it deals with the three modes, it has a mode. It has Pradhana is also there. Pradhana is there. So when it deals with Sato, mind is created. When it deals with Rajas, senses are created. When it deals with Tamas, sense objects are created. But what is Mat Tattva? Mat Tattva is ignorant. It is actually a false ego. It's a combination of all the elements, but it is on its own, it's ignorant. Ignorance has many meanings actually. Ignorant means doesn't know anything. It has to combine, get the glance of Lord. Then the creation happens. On its own, principal elements are created by Mahatattva. It is not knowledgeable. It is ignorant. It is Lord who glances at Mahatattva. Mahatattva is not a person, na?
Yes.
It's not a person, so it is ignorant. It's a dull matter. It's a darkest region, a dull matter. When Lord glances, then the combination happens. Mat Tattva combining with Sato, combining with many creation. How the creation happened? The question how here is how the creation started.
Mataji, may I try to just repeat it in very simple words, whatever I have understood?
Yes.
Like it's beginning with Mahavishnu, who is Lord Swamsha. His glance impregnates jivas into pradhana. And then
Mahatattva, not Pradhana. Pradhana means again three modes. Mahatattva.
Okay.
Impregnates the Mahatattva, not Pradhan.
Okay. Then Kala will set into motion the whole process.
Kala sets the whole process.
And this is
make the Mahatattva manifest.
Okay. I'm just noting down as you are saying. Then this is based on the karma and the swabhava of the jivas who are there.
Wait, first the facilities are given. Body facilities should be given, na? So what are the facilities which is given? Mind is given, senses are given, sense objects are given. How the facilities are given? Jivas are later. Jivas are later put in that different bodies.
Like here, how I have noted down, I have not come to that point. I am
You have
just
to
in
come to
the
that point, no first. Karmas are all later. Living
okay.
entities later. Now we are only talking about the bodies.
Okay. So
Living
then
entity facility, how this facility is given.
now here Mahatattva is there, which is ignorance, but when it's interacting with goodness and false ego, it results into mind plus 10 controlling demigods. And then when it interacts false ego plus ignorance, then it results into Panchabhutas. And when it interacts with
When
false
you
ego,
interact with passion, sense objects come. Senses come,
yes,
sorry, senses come.
yeah,
Knowledge gain is
false,
nothing there.
yeah,
Passion,
false ego plus goodness is mind and 10 controlling demigods. Then false ego plus passion is resulting into intelligence, panch gyanendriyas, and then panch karmendriyas. And then when we move on to false ego interacting with ignorance, then comes panch bhutas, beginning with
huh?
ether.
it
Um,
comes to it comes to sense objects. And when that sense objects is glanced, then Panchabhutas come.
Mataji, can you repeat it?
It is first the object which has come.
Hmm.
Object, sense
Yes.
object,
Yeah. Tanmatras.
Tanmatras. Tanmatras. Sky came first.
Yes.
That is, yes, Panchamahabhuta. But from
Hmm.
Panchamahabhuta, what came? Sense objects. Means both are there. It is combination. It is
Okay.
Panchamahabhuta as well as the sense object.
Okay.
And then what happens when the sky mixes with the air?
Yeah. Then
Is
first ether or akash is coming, which
ah,
results into shabda or
ah,
sound. Then
correct.
further it comes to air or vayu. And this is resulting into shabda plus sparsha or sound and touch.
Abala. Hmm.
Then third level it comes to fire
Interaction
or
of what? Why that fire came? Interaction of air
yeah,
plus ether.
ether. Ether.
So
So
fire came.
so fire is coming. So we have the third element, shabda, sparsha plus rupa or, or form. Then these three, they finally result into water or jala, which is sound, touch, form, and taste. These four are there. Then all these four, they all result into the fifth one, which is earth or prithvi. Now fifth one is added, odor or smell. So we have sound, we have touch, we have form, we have taste, and we have this last odor or taste.
Now you go through the very,
Hmm.
very basic things.
Hmm.
Now you have in the sky,
Hmm.
sky, air towards it. Lighting comes. Lightning
Hmm.
comes. Lightning
Yes.
comes, water comes. Then
Yes.
in the earth, you see in earth everything is there.
True.
You touch the air, you touch the earth, first
Hmm.
smell is there. You
Yes.
start from the first now. Smell is there, taste is there, what earth,
Hmm.
what fire, form is there.
Hmm.
Then what is there?
Then we have sound,
Then
touch,
you have
form, taste, odor. Yeah, all five we have covered.
last year.
Sound,
Touch is there, sound is
touch. Hmm. All five.
more
Yes.
easy to understand. All Jamela
Yes.
more easy to understand.
I
Simple
think this is
explanation.
very easy. Yes.
Easy to understand. The
Yes.
only sky,
Hmm.
what only sound we can hear. That's the question. Wow.
Very true.
Other things cannot be understood.
Hmm.
Neither other things cannot be understood. It is easy. More easy is when you do it in a practical thing. Hare
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Yes.
Patitanam Pavani
Patitananda Vishnu.
Devi.
Vishnu. Shri Prabhupada.